Mental health, tension, worrying are one of those topics that often doesn't get the seriousness or attention that it deserves. Today, we'll talk about one simple technique that will help you make a shift from focusing towards the problem to overcoming it. Also, towards the end, I'm going to specifically share a free downloadable planner which will help you. So stay tuned. All your tensions and worries and find a simple solution for it using the technique that I'm going to share today. We often see people complaining and worrying about things in their life. More often than not, we do end up worrying about things that are out of our control. Things that we could have no control over or change. Second thing we need to realize is we don't have to deal with the tension or deal with a worry, because if it's a tension or a worry, something that we don't want in the first place, why do we want to deal with it? It should not become the center of our life or our attention. However, we shouldn't ignore it and must plan to overcome a problem. Worrying often destroys concentration and productive constructive thinking. So we need to focus on not repeating the affirmations of how big the problem is and how helpless we are, but focusing on the obstacle and how we can solve it. The technique I'm going to talk about today is from a book called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie. It's a very simple process where he breaks it down into 3 simple steps. Most of us will find solutions to our problems from the first step itself. First, we need to understand is gathering the facts, understanding the averages so we have clarity of thoughts. Often when we are worried, we stop looking at the facts and stop losing the clarity of the situation. So the best things to do in this situation is understand the averages, understand the real numbers, the probability of things, and gather some facts. To give you an example, someone could be worried about flying in planes, worrying about it crashing. However, if you look at the numbers, plane would be one of the safest way to travel in the world. But more often than not, our overthinking clouds our judgment. So first part of analysis is understand the law of averages, focus on the obstacle and not get bogged down by people or emotions around it. It's also important to stay in a positive mindset and stay slightly detached from the problem itself. So let's get right into the technique. The first step is all about analysis. So as part of Analyse, there's 2 questions you need to ask. So I'll give you a real life scenario that I've often written down and worked on. So I work as a contractor, and so my contracts often get renewed every 3 months or 6 months, and there are certain things I used to worry about a lot in early days, and that would be whether I'll be extended, or if not, what I will do, how will I pay my mortgages, how would I pay my bills, and all of those things. Now those worries still remain at some level. However, the way I approach it and deal with it is much more calmer, much more clarity, and there's already a scenario and plan that I've worked through using this technique. So I am much more at ease. So the first question is, what am I worried about? So I'm worried whether my contract will be extended or not. Second question is, what can I do about it? So the answer is, I could make sure I'm doing a brilliant job at my current place so I get extended. I can also make sure that I have great relationship with everyone so they understand the value that I add to the team. I also need to make sure that I'm communicating all the work and the extra work that I'm doing to make sure that the team stays busy. I can also make sure that in case if I don't get extended, I prepare my CV. I keep a lookout on LinkedIn to see where all the other jobs are and who are currently recruiting, and possibly even save some jobs or even apply as and how it's needed. Third is, when am I going to start it? Because more often than not, what happens is when we are dealing with something that we don't want, or it's a problem or something we worry about, we often tend to ignore it or leave it till last minute when it might be too late. So it's important that we put a date in it to make sure that we don't get into any last minute troubles. So when am I going to start it? I will roughly start it a month or month and a half before my renewal date. This way, what happens is I stop worrying about it beforehand. So I'm not worrying about it constantly. I'm only looking and being aware about it close to that deadline, which automatically gives me the awareness towards the problem. Second thing is ask. Again, within this, we need to understand couple of things. First one is, what is the worst case scenario? So we often, when we are worried or in fear of something, we just repeat the fear and make it bigger rather than realizing what's the worst that could happen, because our fears are often bigger than the worst case scenario itself. So let's say in this scenario, if in 3 months time, if I don't have contract, then the worst case scenario is that I don't have a job, I might struggle to pay my bill and everything else with it, which could lead to knock-on effect in my relationship, family life, friends life, much more. Now here comes the crucial part, which is that what we need to do is we need to accept the worst case scenario. Once you accept that worst case scenario, that yes, if this happens, then this and this might happen. If I'm already accepting that worst case scenario, what happens is, that's the only way is upward, because you have already thought through the worst case scenario. So once you start accepting that, okay, yes, might be the worst case scenario, first thing you often realize is it's actually not as bad as it sounds. So mentally, it's easier to accept the worst case scenario right now because it's not happened, compared to if it came to you unexpectedly. So it's much easier to accept the worst case scenario in present moment because it's not happened to you yet. So there's better acceptance. You're mentally much stronger right now. What you do is you accept that worst case scenario, that okay, yes, this might happen to me, and I accept that. Now it's important that you don't dwell upon it, because this is just for your thought process. You don't need to repeat that I accept this worst case scenario, because it's not something you want to end up manifesting, but you need some acceptance towards it. What we need to focus on is how would we improve upon the worst. Let's say in this scenario, the improve upon worst would be, I get another permanent job, I get any other job that I can get. Worst case scenario, I go work at local shop. There's support from my friends and family members as well. What I've done is I've actually gone through those ups and downs that my mind constantly goes through. But what I've done is I've kind of accelerated that process in my mind and documented the worst case scenario and what I can do about it, noting down all my worries and multiple solutions to it. Therefore, you are much more prepared than if it were to happen to you all of a sudden. Third and final part of the technique is living in daylight compartments, which is mindfulness. This is something submarines have. Submarines have 3 or 4 compartments, and if one of them gets flooded, they can lock down that particular compartment so the water doesn't go through the other part of the submarine. This is something that we need to apply in our daily lives as well, which is complete mindfulness and awareness of living in those daylight compartments. Look at every day as it comes. This way, even though you might be in middle of a big problem or going through a lot of tension, when you start looking at one day at a time, the problem doesn't look big and you start chipping away towards it. What would also help in this scenario is affirmations and visualization, like today is a new life, today is a new day and a new life, or if I take care of today, tomorrow will take care of itself. If I take care of today, tomorrow will take care of itself. If you repeat this first thing in the morning and last thing at night, you will automatically feel better and start working towards the solution and focus on the right things. Another good thing that might be worth doing if you're going through a lot of tension and worry is create a gratitude diary, a grateful diary. Again, a lot of those are available on Etsy. A lovely 5-minute change diary in the description below. And gratitude diary is very important, because when a lot of these times when you are worried and in tension, it often feels that the whole world is conspiring against us. And when we start looking from a different perspective, where we start looking at all the things that we've been gifted by nature, by God, by parents, by friends, by relatives, all the things, nice things that people have done for us, we start appreciating the things we have rather than a couple of things that's not going the way we want it to be. 2 other things that I will also recommend is deep belly breathing. So throughout the day, if you are doing a deep belly breathing, then again, it will make you much more calmer and make your thoughts much more clearer. You will respond to things rather than react to things. There is a video, I'll share the link in description, on how to do deep belly breathing. Second thing you can also do is spinal concentrative breathing or spinal concentrative meditation. This is another technique. If you do at least 30 minutes or even 20 minutes a day, it will make you much more focused and concentrated and calm you down, and it will calm the nerves. I'll leave the link for that in the description as well. So let's summarize this. First step is analyze. What am I worried about? What can I do about it? And when will I start? Second step is ask what is the worst case scenario, accept the worst case scenario and improve upon the worst case scenario. Finally, live in daylight compartment with full mindness and awareness and focusing on the now. Stay positive, repeat your affirmations, do your visualization of the world that you want to live in. Keep a gratitude diary, do deep belly breathing throughout the day, spend 20 to 30 minutes doing spinal concentrative meditative breathing, and remain in positive vibrations. Finally, I leave you with a quote from Dale Carnegie. The best way to prepare for tomorrow is to concentrate with all your intelligence, all your enthusiasm on doing today's work superbly today. That is the only possible way you can prepare for the future. Finally, I will share this freedom from worry planner, link in the description below. Also, there is a 5-minute change diary, which I'll share the link below as well. Next time, we'll talk about techniques on problem solving, minimalism, over 300 days of intermittent fasting, and many more videos like this. So hope you enjoyed this one. Please like, share and subscribe this video. Hit that thumbs up button. Share what's your biggest worry about and how did you overcame it in the comment section below. Until next time.